Well, hey guys, today we're going to look at an AK that used to be very prolific before the final AK ban on Norinco in 1994. It's the MAK 90, which stands for Modern AK, 1990 being the year they switched to this particular style. Used to come with this thumb hole stock and was not very good looking rifle, and you can see that they didn't cost a lot either, so I think a lot of people thought these were cheap. Today, they're a lot more sought after. One of the things people have recognized about them is that they're one of the most durable builds out there for an AK derivative. So if you look at this one, somebody could have done a better job attaching this stock on there after they removed the thumb hole stock, and we may or may not live with that. Now, they came without threaded barrels. This one's had the barrel tap, so it could accept a muzzle brake. But you can see the overall finish is pretty good. And if you look at this barrel, you can see those turn marks. I was told that that was just a cheaper way to machine them. But if any of you watching happens to know the story behind that, I'd certainly hope you will share that in the comments section. Now, in 1989, they started restricting features, things like bayonet lugs and things of that like. And here you can see that this, by 1994, that they were just making purpose-built front sights, as you see there, as well as with the front gas block. You can see that they didn't grind anything down. They just made it without that. And it also lacks a hole for the cleaning rod, which is fine by me. I don't use them. I will say, though, that this operates, the smoothness of working the bolt, the function is great. And the trigger on these, which is what's called a double loop, is phenomenal. Also, looking at the bolt carrier group, you see that they're matching numbers. Some of them are black, some of them are like this. Now we're looking up through the top. Again, I mentioned this was 1.6 millimeters versus 1 millimeter, which you saw with Russian and all the European versions. Barrel's in great condition. It also is thicker than a standard European version, and it is a chrome-lined barrel, which is good to have, of course. And here you're looking at the front gas block there, where that comes in, and looking at the front sight. Unlike the Europeans' versions, the sight curves all the way around instead of cutting off like a U, and you can adjust it for windage and elevation. So I was doing the math in my head, and this is something along the lines of my 10th or 11th AK that I've owned. I think it might actually be 11 or 12, because I always forget about the Romanian SAR. And I've reviewed a lot of these on the channel over time. You've seen Arsenal Bulgarians, a couple of those, a couple of Yugos, Zastav, an underfolder, and a regular one. This, in fact, with a 1.6 millimeter stamped sheet metal receiver, is a lot more like those old Yugo OPAPs, which basically had a chassis, if you will, or a receiver that was capable of accepting larger type calibers. A Polish that was a parts kit build, and it was the only AK that I had issues with. It was in 5.45 by 39. Had a Russia Sega conversion, and I did a lot of the work on it myself, and it was really cool. And at the end of the day, I didn't have a rifle that was near as solid as this one, just be honest. And I've never owned a Mahdi's, basically, now that I have this Chinese production. Mahdi from Egypt was a big one I've never owned. Own a Galil Ace. That's very AK-like just across the board. But I do own a SIG 556, one of the earlier ones, and that almost completely based on an AK design. I mean, there's just such some simplicity to it, and I think that's why I keep coming back to these. I think the biggest reason I come back is I just think they're damn cool rifles. It's simple. It's something that's been in the news my whole lifetime. So they're really cool to look at. And to be perfectly honest, I've stayed away from the Chinese stuff because I'm not a real big fan of China. I want to thank you for joining me to take a look at this rifle today. I don't know why I keep coming back to these AKs. You know, they're really kind of a crude design in a lot of ways, yet simple and effective and cheap to build. I expect, based on the research I've done, when this one was built, in 1994. It's the last year they imported in the U.S. That this particular one probably costs less than $40 to produce at the plant. But nowadays, no, forget about it. And I'm not going to speculate on prices, but you can go to the usual places and just type in MAK 90, and it'll tell you what these people are asking for these and what these are going for. As always, appreciate you tuning in and showing some interest in what we're doing here on Gun News and Reviews. If you like it, and subscribe and come back for more. This is David Drake saying so long.